So since we know what kind of throttle we're going to use now, it makes it a lot simpler. So we're down to just 7 wires here, basically. The only 7 that we're going to need here. So we have, well, actually, I guess it's 8 because we're going to need a 5-volt power supply for our regen braking throttle control. There is a wire coming out of the controller wiring loom, but for some reason it terminates about 4 inches out of it. So there's a connector that you can plug in and connect, but there's no wire coming beyond there. So we will have to put an extension on there. We have lots of excess wire here. That's some of it right there that we cut out. We got some nice long pieces of wire that we can use and repurpose for that purpose. Otherwise, all the wiring is here. We have 7 wires coming in here. So all we really need is a sensor return wire for each of the throttles. So like this one's going to be our throttle 0 to 5 volt return wire going back to the controller to tell it what to do. And then this one's going to be the 0 to 5 volt regen brake signal going back to the controller to tell it what to do. And then there's a ground wire that's going to be for the power supply, the return for the power supply, the source powers. And so the red wire here is going to be the 12 volt source wire coming from the controller. So that's going to supply the throttle. It's also going to supply the base signal for our forward signal, which is the white wire. The yellow wire is the reverse signal. So it supplies all 3 of these. And then the white and red wire is the menu button. So that's all we're going to be using here. And then we will need the 12 volt to go to the same power supply here has to go to our throttle. So we are going to have to probably splice in a little piece of matching scrap wire we got, leftover wire. So we'll splice into there and then have our power supply for our throttle. So we have a lot of extra wire now. We've singled out some more of it off to the side now that we just simply don't need. But it's nice that they have all these options for other stuff. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff that this controller can control, so it's kind of interesting. So we might be able, sometime in the future, maybe be able to use some of that wire for some other purpose. But for now, I'm just going to keep it simple here and get this thing up and running and keep it simple as possible. So let's go ahead and get this stuff done. So one thing I want to mention here is that a lot of these wires are really, really small. They're like 22 gauge. Sometimes 24 gauge. So what I find is that instead of using a connector like this, which is the smallest connector, I find that using the slightly bigger connector and then folding the wire over, such as so, makes for a better connection. Because otherwise, if you use this one and just go straight in, it just really doesn't grip it very well, and I just find it to be unreliable, and it would be too it's just too much of a potential problem to do that. So I find that folding it over and then clamping it works really well. Kind of like so right there. You can see how it's clamped. Whoop, focus. How it clamps in there really good and tight. And so anyway, we're about to finish up here. I've got the wiring done here. I've got the throttles connected and the regen brake connected. And I have everything else ready to go. I'm about to plug into our forward reverse right here, and then the only other thing we're going to be adding is the menu button. So this is what comes with the kit, or at least what's provided with this kit. And so it's a little button that you push it, and it just it doesn't click or anything. It just pushes and bounces back. It's not the best button in the world. I think I'll probably look and see if I can find something better, something that has a feedback, like a clicking sound. I would prefer like a actual click. This doesn't have anything. It just, you push it, you don't even know if you pushed it or not. It kind of moves just a slight little bit and then it bounces back. Everything's looking really good now. We're getting really, really close. I'm getting super excited here. So we've got everything wired up here on the inside. What I've done is I cut out a little notch right here so our wires can go through a little bit more cleanly. And so I've obviously put our console piece back in place here. And what I've done is I took that little menu button, and that's connected right here. I think that makes sense because this is our display, the standard display that comes with our kit. I know it looks pretty ghetto, pretty old school, but I think it's going to work pretty nicely for our purpose And since it's right next to our menu buttons right here, so we'll be able to flash through all the different screens. And I think that would be nice, because I mean most of that's secondary information. It's not really primary information. Primary information like speed will still be the speedometer there. That's a mechanical connection to the rear diff, so that's actually still functional. The tachometer, I might be able to get that to work with the Curtis controller. I'm gonna look into that a little bit further. I'm not gonna worry about it now, but it might be able to work. There's also another aftermarket. There's a Curtis direct connection. It's basically the connector that this goes into in the back. It's a direct fitting connection that shows all the information on this, but instead of having to hit the menu button to scroll through the 6 or 7 different bits of information, it actually shows it all like in vivid color. It's like almost like a race car kind of, or just or maybe even some of the newer motorcycles have like they have a whole LCD screen. And so that basically would do that. It will actually show that information. And so I'm thinking about doing that. If I don't like this setup right here, I might go ahead and do that. But that would be, once again, at a later date. And if I did that, of course, I'd put it up here, But then that would change the look of the car. See, I like the whole idea of how discreet this looks. I mean, I'll be able to roll up the Cars and Coffee, and people will say, "Hey, nice cappuccino," And then I was telling them, "Well, it's not gas." And they'll be like, "What?" And because it looks stock, it looks completely stock. I mean, other than the obvious modifications, but I mean, there's nothing obvious as far as like, unless you open the hood, as far as it being electric versus gas. This is the only little giveaway right here, but that's pretty. Only the trained eye would know what that is. Some people might think that's just a general multi-purpose display. Because this looks very old school. Actually, it is very old school. So I mean, it's this type of gauge size has been around forever. So it's like it doesn't really look like anything more than just a voltmeter or something like that. And so our ghetto way of doing the USB port instead of having hardwired stuff. I was going to do hardwired, but then I figured why bother, because this shows it right here, and this is actually a really cool little display too, because it's actually a voltmeter itself. So if you turn it on, like so. It shows the voltage really nicely too, so that's kind of cool. Takes care of that in one super easy fix sort of manner, plug and play. Can't beat that. So yeah, I think we're good to go. So let's go ahead and put the fuse in for the main contactor and try this thing out. All right, the sun is shining and I'm all ready to rock and roll on this thing. I think we're ready to go. It'd be nice if it worked the first time. Wouldn't that be lovely? But we'll have to see what happens. So I made the final connection right here to our main contactor. Just put in the fuse, and then I made the connection over there, the wire and harness into the actual controller. So those are the last 2 connections that needed to be done. So now I think we are good to go. I'm excited. This is actual first take here, no practicing here, so let's see what happens. Okay, key in. And then the motor takes off. That's our vacuum pump, of course. Oh, there's other noises though. I hear the noises. Oh, we have stuff over here. Look at that, RPMs. Ooh, interesting. So there are noises being made here. Makes a buzzing sound. Whoop. They don't mind that's the vacuum pump. Don't worry about that. But makes a buzzing sound? Interesting. Like I said, I've truly never done this before. I have no idea what's going on. So it makes a slight electrical sound, buzzing sound. And so we should be able to, just as simple as select the drive, I guess, forward. And then throttle. That's not going to work, is it? Nothing happening. Nothing happening. This is getting kind of interesting here. So, conflicting information. So the company I bought, well, this is the provider of the motor. Not the place I bought it from, but I bought it from another place but this is the supplier of the motor. And then there's the Curtis, which is the controller, and they have conflicting information here. So this one says, Curtis says you need to have a special programming unit. You have to buy a special computer interface to integrate into the system, which probably does work. In fact, I actually went ahead and bought that just in case, but I was under the impression that you didn't need it. So what's interesting is that this information here from these guys has different information about throttle types and everything. So this was set for type 1 or type 3. It was defaulted to type 3 right here. And so I just set it to type 1, and now it's working. So it's interesting here. So it's on right now. So watch the rear wheel here. Let me push on the throttle here. See, we got spinach here, so just pushing on the throttle here. So it's working. It's pretty cool. And then you can also do the same thing with the brake. The brake type is set to no brake input right here. So that's what it was set to. And then I changed it to this type, but though it's not, that part of it I'm not sure is working or not, because it didn't seem to, you seem to have the ability to set the, or to kind of calibrate the whole thing. So the brake deadband is like at 0 when it's fully off, like when the brake pedal, or in this case our brake throttle lever is off. And then when you set maximum brake, where you calibrate it by pushing full brake on and then have it set. And then you basically do a series of pushing on the menu. So how you get to this is you push on the menu button, turn on the key at the same time. Hold one hand on the menu, one hand on the key, and then you that's how it gets to the menu to program it. So there's some basic stuff that's programmed into it, and it does seem to be overriding what the Curtis, because this name comes up right here, which is the motor company, not the controller company. So there is some sort of integration here. So it seems that this one is superseding what the controller does. So here is the accelerator pedal installed. So I was able to utilize one of the existing bolts right down here, or at least the threaded area on one side, and then I had to drill a hole in the top for a new bolt going through, and that goes all the way through. So this is our range of motion right here. It looks really good. I think it came out really nice. It's perfectly level with the brake pedal, and it's right where it needs to be as far as away from the brake pedal. I think that came out pretty much near perfect. And then here's what we had to do over here. We had to add that little that bolt right there. So that's a new bolt with a hole, locking washers on it, and so that should keep it secure. Now we're going to go ahead and install our light. And so I got a 10-pack on eBay, these little 12-volt LEDs, and I really like the green one and the blue one. I wasn't sure which to get. It's kind of, I guess it's kind of nice that they offer an assortment, but I really don't think I'm going to need the clear or the yellow or the red. I just don't know what I'm going to use with those for. So it's really kind of like the green or the blue. I think it's going to be best for charging. I know some cars use blue, some cars use green. I'm really kind of trending towards green. I think that's the color we're going to go with here. I think that makes the most sense for charging. And then as far as where to put it, instinctively I started to think, well, I probably want to put it, dead center on the dash here. Would make sense. But then I also noticed that on this car we have these little bumps right here, which is kind of interesting. They almost appear to be the same size. Looking at this a little bit closer, yeah, these pegs right here actually do hold the dash in place, or at least hold a part of it. It holds pieces of it together. But what's interesting, you can see right here, if I put my hand down here, I can, I don't know if you can see that or not, but my fingers, like right here, it's real easy for me to reach underneath here and it's I could drill a hole right through here and just boom, that'd be it. I could just drop this in. I'd be able to reach down and wire it in and be done. And so I like that idea a lot. Here's what it looks like installed. I think it came out pretty nice. It kind of discreetly blends in there. It's about the same size as that peg right there, so I think it looks kind of nice. It's kind of how it looks like from the outside. One of the nice things I like about it is how it's on the same side as the charge port. Here's our coolant pump that we're going to be using. This is something I bought on eBay, brand new. It's like about 25 bucks or so. It's actually, this particular pump is a generic one. It's actually it's actually a direct replacement for a VW coolant pump, but I'm not exactly sure what model or anything. It really didn't matter. I mean, I just wanted to get a pump of any sort is what we want. So I've already tested it. It's about 0.54 amps. That's running dry, which works out to be about 7 watts. It starts out a little bit higher, then it tapers down. So that's what I tested it. That's what I bench tested it at. But of course that's dry. So with a little bit of resistance, I'm expecting it to produce a little bit more current, or draw a little more current out of it. So maybe it might be as much as twice that or something. But it's still pretty low wattage. I mean, 7 watts, even if it's 14 or 20 or whatever, it's still pretty low wattage. So that's not going to cause too much current draw. And this is just a simple, very simple 12-volt pump. There's only 2 pins. There's a plus and a negative. Very simple. Just what I want. I don't want any crazy PWM circuit stuff, which is what I was dealing with before. And then over here for the relay, we're repurposing none of our relays that we had over here. We had 4 of them. We took 3 of them out. We already repurposed one, so now we're going to repurpose another one. So this is going to be set up to run our pump, because you can't just have it go through your key switch. You have to have a little bit of current controlling the bigger current. So we're going to be sitting here. We're going to put this inside, and we're going to wire it into our key, of course, and then from there what will happen is the power will be, so actually if the power for the pump will be coming in, it's already coming in right here. So we already have a supply coming in, and we already have a fuse allocated right here on the end here. The uppermost right one is going to be coming out, so that's going to go into our relay input, and then our relay output will be going straight to the pump. And then as far as what turns on the relay is going to be our key switch right here, which is going to be these 2 circuits up here. So that's going to be tying into where we have our other splices happening right here. So we'll just splice into this. This is our key circuit right here. Anywhere along here is a spliceable link right here. So we'd just be able to have that plus right there, and then our ground right here. And that turns on the relay when the key is activated, and that turns on the pump. So that's the plans. Let's go ahead and make it happen. Now we're going to go ahead and work on the console area. So originally I had some ideas about doing a totally custom console, and the more I look at it, the more resistance I feel about it. So what I started to do is I started to look at our existing console here, which really doesn't look all that bad. There's just a couple things that are different, and since this matches everything, it already has the screw holes lined up. It's it's all basically all good to go, with the exception of a few things that have been deleted and a couple things that we've added. So if I just focus on those elements, for example, we have no more manual transmission, obviously. So we have the forward reverse, this little controller right here. And then we're going to have our regen control right here. And that's basically what I want to put right here. I want to put the control and then the regen right next to it. So I think if we just focus on just tear this boot out and basically put a new plate in, I think that will fix that area. And then obviously right here we have our power windows, so that's just a straight drop in, no problem there, that's done. This little hole right here is something that the previous owner had put a switch in there and it was connected to nothing. I don't know why they put it in there, but so unfortunately we have a little damage there that I don't know what to do about. So that's going to be pretty much just probably left the way it is, because I can't do much about it. So unfortunately we have that. We might be able to put a little plate or something. We'll figure something out. We'll put something over it. I'm sure we can tape over it or do something with it. But for now, it's just it's there. And then as far as we work our way back, so the next thing I want to do is I want to put our heated seat circuit in. So we have our heated seat circuit right here. I need to wire this in right here somewhere. Hook these up to our switch right here. And then this will be ready to plug in to each seat, one for each side, one for each seat, and then we'll be ready to roll with that. So what I've got right now is I've got switches for that, and this is what they look like. They're the same switch I'm using here on the dash for the other heater. So I like how those look. They look really nice. They have a nice feel to them. They have a nice clicking motion going on. So I think these are going to work really well. And then as far as controlling the amount of current that goes through it, I think I could get a little retrostat, dial, and I could just put that right next to it. So basically the idea is that I think I could just put one, that's for your passenger seat, and another one over here for your driver's seat, and then have your little fine-tuning dial here to set the amount of current going through it. And then that way you have a master just to turn it on. Because once you get it set where you want it, you probably just want to turn it on and off. You don't really want to, fuss with it too much. If you like it at setting 5 out of 10 or whatever, and then that's where you like it, you'll probably just fine-tune it, leave it there, and then just have it on and off. And that's pretty much, and if the passenger likes to have it at 10, then they could put it to 10 and then turn it on and off as they want it as well. So that's the whole idea. I think that's going to work. There's plenty of room right there. There's plenty of, this whole thing lifts up and everything. So obviously we have enough room for this to go in, so we have plenty of room for something like this to go next to it. So the more I look at it, I really like it. And obviously the handbrake, that goes right back in as it was before. So what does that leave left? It leaves back here, we have this area right here. Now obviously this is not going back in as it was. So we could probably just cut that off, try to do a clean cut as we can, and then just have carpeting or something infill underneath there. Tuck underneath, we tuck it underneath this one and then have it go under, and then this goes on top of it. That will probably clean up that area relatively good, pretty quickly. And then what else does that leave? We have this switch right here for a light. You have it set to door, you set it to on or off, and so that has to be relocated. It used to be over here, the dumbest place ever. So now I think what we can do, the more I look at this, I think I could easily put this in here, maybe just down here, right next to the charging port access lever, formerly the fuel door. We have that lever right there. We could probably there's room behind there. I could reach behind. There's plenty of room behind there. It's all, once again, it's all elevated up over. This whole console comes up a few inches. It probably comes up to like around here somewhere. So lots of room there, and I could still use this little compartment, which fits a couple cell phones pretty nicely. So I could still use that. I don't like how this is damaged, unfortunately. That's my example that I got. So I don't know if I can get a newer part maybe to replace that or something. Or another option is maybe just take this door off. I've never been a big fan of how that door opens towards you. Like, you're looking at, this is where the beast looking at. It's always like it opens why does it open that way? It seems like it should open the other way. I never liked how it opens the wrong way. So maybe we could just lose the door entirely. Get rid of the ugliness, get rid of these ugly junk right here. And then we'd have full access to this. We wouldn't have to open anything up. You can, have access to that and then have access to the switch right here. And then that would, I think that would look pretty clean. That would be a nice compromise. So I think that's what we're going to go ahead and do. So let's go ahead and do it. So here's the center console so far. So what I've done is I've cut this thing back right here in the back. Chopped that down. Just kind of drew, using the existing line right here, just kind of drew the line, carried the line across, and then just kind of cut it back. Cut up my finger in the process, but it will heal. And then what I've done here is I've gone ahead and cut out a little rectangle down here. Basically just draw a rectangle, use your drill, cut a bunch of little holes into it, and then use a knife to finish it off, and then just basically fine tune it from there. So I've got that in right there, so that's looking pretty good. And then over here I took out the shift boot, and we're going to do some sort of plate right here to have our switch forward, reverse, and then our regen throttle, lever will be right around here somehow. We'll figure something out about that later. That might take a while to sort out, so we'll have to come back to that most likely. Then what I've done here is I put the power window switches back in, and I've drawn some little lines here where I think it's going to go right here as far as our switches. So I think it's going to look best for these switches to be directly aligned with those power window switches. I think that makes the most sense, and then the fine-tuning knob will be off to the side on either side. So that's what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and drill a small pilot hole to start, and then we're going to use something like this to enlarge it to fit. And here they are installed. I think they look pretty nice. I got them pretty well lined up with the power window switches above. And so yeah, using this guy as a base, and then using the different types of files to fine-tune it to get it a little bit more of a precise fit. These switches are actually a little bit bigger than this one, so I had to enlarge the hole slightly. And they have notches in it to keep them from twisting and everything. So you put a little notch on one side, and then you line it up, push it in, Got a nice tight fit now, so that's done. Man, this has been quite a day here, so I wanted to get this done. It's been taking quite an extensive amount of time, but I got it. I think I got it all done, or at least at a stopping point. So got all the wiring in, so the console's in, everything's working. So if you reach in here and you can turn on that light right there, so that's working. Our heated seats are working, although they're not actually connected to seats. They are. The light is connected to the same 12 volt that the seats are connected to. So all I really have to do is make that final connection on to the seats. 101 uses for black carpeting is very nice. It makes really nice for finishing up little odd pieces like that. It's basically just tucked in there and then just braced down in there. And the power windows are working, of course. And so right here, like, this is an interesting area. I haven't been able to figure out exactly what I'm going to do here yet. It's probably going to be some sort of like lever or something. I mean, I got to have some sort of mounting for this, for the lever here somewhere. And I think it'd be better to put it to the car than the actual console, but I'm still looking at it. And then as far as our regen throttle, you know, it lines right up with the steering wheel. I think it's going to be a really good place for it to be, because you'll be intuitively just be able to reach down and grab down there and pull on that. So I'm thinking of having some sort of position like that, or maybe it wants to be down here, so you can just do that same kind of thing. And whatever feels good, I guess I'll just play around with it. But I think and once I get it wherever I want it, then I'll worry about, you know, how to mount it permanently. And same thing with this throttle. I mean, I really like some sort of technique here with the black carpeting behind it. I think it's going to work really well. Just have to get this secured somehow, and then put the black carpeting around it. And I think that will basically tie it up real nicely. It ties in with the rest here. I don't want to mess with any of this other stuff. Just have the black carpeting, kind of like a shift boot. The black carpeting is that same boot. And so I think that will do that. And so I think that's going to be it for this segment here. The interior is basically done now. I'm proud to say all I have to do now is clean.